Hi everyone, welcome to our weekly Q&A session, and today it is our again a Q&A with our coach Brittany today. Sorry, I just got a little bit distracted because did I hear a sound of a train in the background?
Oh, I was hoping that wouldn't be. Yes, there's a train about half a mile from our house, and it doesn't go by very often, but a few times a day there's this train, and it's very loud.
Okay, I could hear it, so I was like wondering, is it like maybe a toy train or is it
No,
like a real
it's a
one?
real train. Yep.
Okay. So it's completely fine with me because I grew up near to a train station, so I had trains like every day and
Oh,
many times in a day. So actually, I kind of like get used to this noise. And when I had my friends over to my house, they were like, "Oh, the trains are really loud. Don't they disturb you at night?" Like, no, I don't even notice, right? So, yeah, just a little distraction here. And actually, we can start with the questions. There are a few questions left unanswered from the last week, and the first one is from Jackson John, and he's asking, sleep deprivation is shown to cause skin issues, and I feel that I experience that. My skin looks far better on a proper night of sleep. I don't know how I can be okay with this and move past insomnia. So, what do you think, Brittany, about appearance insomnia, basically what we are talking about here?
yeah, I think it's very common to notice things about your appearance, especially when you have slept less the night before. But it also can be helpful to know that when you are struggling with sleep, you tend to be more hyper focused on that sort of stuff too. We tend to notice the small little details a lot more and how sleep might be related or correlate to it, but doesn't
Mhm.
always causation. Correlation and causation are different. But I think, yeah, you can just notice that, oh, yeah, I'm just notice my skin looks a little different today. But you can also be aware of the fact that my brain's a little more hyper aroused as well, which means I'm going to be focused on it more. So I'm going to notice my skin a lot more, and the little details that are going on, like maybe there's acne or whatever it might be. Um, yeah, I think awareness can be helpful, and just the education of knowing that your brain will pick up on that stuff more. So you might actually have some skin issues when you're sleeping well, but you're just not in tune with what's going on as much because you're not as hyper aroused. And I think on the other side of it, we also want to learn to accept the struggles that we're going through, and there's always going to be some natural side effects when we don't sleep well, and that's very normal. And it's okay. Like if even people that don't have insomnia, they might feel a little more tired the next day, or they might have a headache or something like that, and that's super normal. And I think it's okay to notice it, allow that discomfort and or annoyance or frustration, whatever it might be, to be there, and then just let it be, and then let that emotion or feeling to pass. As if we try to fixate on something and then either resist or push into it, it can only create more struggle.
Mhm.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I want to highlight like basically we need to normalize like what you say that it's kind of like side effects, and it's very normal that we don't look so fresh and rejuvenated after a rough night, and this is for everybody, even for people who don't struggle with insomnia, right? But also have in mind the Jackson that we are our own worst critics, and you are the only one who gets to see yourself in the mirror so close, right? And maybe you can see it as an opportunity to revisit some new products in the drugstore or online, like for your skin to look more radiant and more beautiful, and mm, you know It's and maybe one important thing to realize is that this is temporary. This is not your forever, and this difficult period will pass. So that's all I wanted to add, and thank you so much for answering, Brittany. And with a question from Fabio. So I'm on Xanax, 500 milligrams, about 1 month and a half. The doctor says to try without, but when I try, I wake up after 30 minutes sweating a lot and with anxiety. My fear is, uh, I guess, I'll be dependent on the pills. Can you give me some advice? I'm trying everything: sport, meditation, relax, reading, but for some reason I can't sleep. I have a children of 10 years old and wife, and sometimes I fear that this will change all my life. So, what do you think, Brittany? Uh, why coming off of meds can cause us night sweats or basically giving us more anxiety?
Yeah, I think it's some of it can be side effects, but also some of it can be just the you're not putting that confidence in the medication anymore because you're off of it. So you're having more of those symptoms that are just from anxiety and hyperarousal that create those sensations like night sweats or whatever it might be. And I think it can be helpful just to um, not beat yourself up so much about what's going on. Like you mentioned, you're afraid of relying on the medication for the rest of your life, or which that no one really has ever been on Xanax for their whole life. So that's it's totally okay to be on medication, but it's also okay to feel like you're ready to get off of it, and to feel like to feel like it's hard. Like it's very normal to have to go through like these hard stages. And I think giving yourself some of that self kindness can be very impactful during those times. Just know that you're not the only one going through it. There's a lot of other people that also are going through the same struggle, and that medications they were a helpful aid for you, and that's so they're neither good nor bad. They are what they are, and that the sensations that you're currently struggling with, like we can just allow them to be there and allow them to pass, and it's not forever, it's temporary. You will get through this. It's just it's part of the process.
Mhm. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing, Brittany. And yeah, it's very uncomfortable. It's really difficult, and uh, maybe there is no need to rush with coming off of the pills, because um, when we rush this process, it puts a lot of pressure on us. And just know that you still can be on meds when you are uh, in this recovery. You can still be in the program, you can still learn, you can implement the teachings, and at the same time use the pills, because the pills they give us this mental bandwidth that we can start to work with befriending wakefulness. We can work with our anxiety. We can work basically with ourselves, implement the teachings. And sometimes when all these emotions and wakefulness and the fear becomes too overwhelming, we kind of make it stuck. But while we take the pills and they make it a little bit easier for us, it also makes for us easier in all the other areas, right? So don't be there is no need to be so terrified of taking pills. As you get on them, you can also wean them off, but always work with the doctor, and take it easy on you. So I hope it helped, Fabio. And we having a question from Annie, our supporter. And so, hi Annie. I read a comment where someone wrote that he hadn't slept for days, was experiencing hallucinations, and etc., and had to go to a psychiatric hospital. This is making me so scared. I'm shaking, and I have to throw up a lot. I'm so afraid of these side effects, hallucinations, psychosis. I'm really, really sorry for what you're going through, Annie. Uh, what are your thoughts, Brittany, to reading these
Yeah, I
scary
think it's
stories?
very scary to hear about, like, all these things that someone else is experiencing. But I think it's important to note that everyone's experience is unique and different. What someone else is going through, you likely will never be the exact same experience. But we all do have like similar paths in that we're, learning and growing in the same way. And I think that, with that experience of the one that you read about or heard about, we don't know the full context either, like what really was going on, like if that person was,
Mhm.
getting, periods of like, micro sleeps could be, or if they were having, days that were better and then days that were harder. Like, it's not always, we don't always know the full story and like what's going on. And that, I think that can be helpful just to help put your mind at ease a little bit, to know that when you hear the, hard, bad stuff, like it's not the full story. There's always, more to it than that. And
Mhm.
also that, when you're going through, a really hard time like that, it does, it never stays like that. Like our body, likes to, move on to the next thing. And like we're not stuck in like this feeling of anxiety and hopelessness forever, because there's always, you know, there's always hope. And then we continue to like, just as you're learning and growing, you continue to, have those moments where the anxiety will pass. It might come back later, but we know how to, approach it and how to react to it in the future. The more we experience it, the better we are later on.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, and I very much agree that these stories, like we don't always see the full picture, and also since you've been struggling with it, Annie, for some time, it's really one of very helpful things when you are going through this, and when you know how much such information and stories trigger you. It's helpful to stop googling, because it's one in general, for most of the people, they said like one of the helpful things that I did at the beginning of my recovery was to stop Googling, because you always get this scary story and a scary story, and they seem like they are literally racing, like who has it worse, right? So just maybe staying away from Google or from these stories, and when you maybe there is a good rule of thumb. When you start to read something, Annie, and it feels like, oh, this is starting to make me worried, then maybe it's helpful to stop reading. But when you read it and it has a quite positive or at least neutral tone, or you feel that it's positive, that it's nice, then just keep reading, right? And yeah, so I think this could help. And I also see like how emotional you react on such stories. It's you're shaking and having to throw up. I know this is really awful. It's so uncomfortable. But we have we we always like have these specific reactions to something, right? And we don't have to be afraid of our reactions. They may be uncomfortable. They are not here to hurt us. Your brain is just in this super protective mode, just trying to help you and keep you safe. So I know it's hard to, it's not comfortable to hear, just accept it, right? It just, let's see this as an invitation to tolerance. Tolerate this discomfort, learn to tolerate it. So I hope this was helpful, Annie. And we have a thank you note from Fabio. You're very welcome. And another question that we had was from Isabella. What to do when you wake up multiple times during the night? So what are your thoughts, Brittany?
I think it depends on what's going on, really. Like if you wake up and you feel comfortable in bed and you feel at ease, and I think it's totally fine just to stay in bed and, you know, allow sleep to come when it comes. If you feel like you wake up multiple times and you're feeling a lot of that pressure to fall back asleep and that anxiety is just rising, then that's a good sign to focus on like befriending wakefulness. So doing things that make your brain feel safe, which for everyone is different. Some people like to get out of bed, watch, you know, a funny show or read a book or play a game. And some people like to, you know, stay in bed and focus on doing things that help their brain feel safe. So it might be doing an activity, or might even just be like noticing what's going on in your brain and just being aware and, you know, being like mindful and allowing that mindfulness to come in without judgment. So, but yeah, I think the main thing is just try to befriend wakefulness if you feel like there's this constant pressure to be sleeping. And try not to, like, you know, be so hard on yourself that you are waking up, because everyone actually does wake up multiple times at night. It's very normal. Even people that are sleeping well, they still wake up. They just don't remember it. Like, it's a very normal thing to be waking up multiple times a night.
Great, thank you so much for answering, Brittany. And when I read the question, my first idea was like, what to do when you wake up multiple times during the night? I would go nothing. Just don't do anything, don't react. It's absolutely normal. Just like Coach Brittany mentioned, there is nothing strange or unusual. Everybody is waking up during the night. It just with more hyperarousal, we tend to remember these awakenings. And one more helpful thing to realize is, or how to frame it, is that the fact that you wake up means that you have slept before, right? So this is really helpful to realize that sleep was happening, and very often the pressure to sleep again eases, right? So instead of like going like, oh no, I didn't manage to sleep, this is wrong, this is not okay, just go easy on yourself, Isabella. Oh, I woke up, this means I slept, and now I can just rest here. And when you rest, I repeat it, I think with every Q&A, but rest opens the gate to hypersleep, and hypersleep opens the gate to the deep sleep. And when we don't judge the rest, like thinking like, oh, I shouldn't be sleeping, I shouldn't be resting, I should be sleeping, rest is not good. No, when we allow rest to happen, then we transition more easier to hypersleep. And again, when we don't judge the hypersleep in a way that people, very often people don't like hypersleep because it's not really refreshing, and we still might be very tired after waking up from hypersleep, then when we don't judge even this phase, because, you know, sleep is just sleep. We can't control the length, the depth, or the quality of our sleep. When we just allow it and accept it, then we transition again much easier to this kind of like deeper and more like unconscious sleep. So remember this, Isabella. And right. Thank you for posting the question. Now, okay, let's answer one last question. And we have a question from Team Bluff 200. Struggling with this now, as I'm falling asleep, I sometimes become aware of thought processes that usually jolts me awake, and this can be a 2 hour long cycle at times. Is this what you call a hypnic jerk? Thoughts aren't at all related to sleep or anything particularly scary or disturbing. Sometimes it's about my plans for the next day. So, did you get a question?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
yeah, I think, yeah, that definitely sounds like a hypnotic jerk to me. And the thoughts, when we're having hyperarousal, like we can have, um, like anything can really catch our attention. So even if it's not like any sleep related thought, just any random thought, like it can like really, you know, make us more aware of what's going on when we have
Mhm,
hyperarousal. So I think that's what's going on is you have this hyperarousal that's like kind of like in the background, and it's making you just monitor what's going on more, even if it's just like, thoughts about what am I going to have for breakfast the next day, like
mhm,
all of that, like it's just, background noise. And I think the key with that is just to like notice it, notice, oh, that's just my brain having some hyperarousal,
mhm,
and allowing it, just letting it be there can be helpful, without trying to like force it away, trying to change the thoughts or trying to like make yourself not think anything, because we know that that doesn't actually help. That actually can create more of this pressure to just stop, something that can't be stopped, and that actually can create more anxiety. So I think if you just notice the thoughts, allow them to be there, know that sleep will eventually come after we allow the thoughts to unravel and to be what they may be. That can be helpful, and the hypnic jerks also will start to fade away. But when we try to resist them, that's when we have more actual struggles. So just notice them, let them be there, without trying to judge or manipulate it in one way or the other. I think that can also be very helpful.
absolutely. Thank you for answering, Brittany. And I also, many times, of course, I know how does it feel like to have a constant racing thoughts. And I was wondering, like, why am I having it? But then I learned that this is just a part of our hyperarousal, part of our fight or flight. And this happens especially because when our brain detects a threat, like in this case, threat of being awake at night, then our brain is trying to help us to get to a solution of this. So our thoughts are racing. We are thinking fast, right? So we can come up with a helpful solution. But sometimes naturally these thoughts can be like it could be like about one thought, one specific thought, intrusive thought, or something totally not specific, or it could be like an earworm, which are called the like a part of a song replaying in your mind constantly, which is super annoying, right? And like Brittany mentioned, it's helpful not really trying to get rid of it, approach it with kind of like acceptance, let it be there. But naturally, sometimes we might be so fed up with this feeling, with experiencing all of this, and it may exhaust us so much that for me, sometimes it was helpful to give myself a break. And this break would be in the form of like listening to a podcast or watching something in the TV, because sometimes I got to a point when I felt too overwhelmed with these thoughts, with all what was going on in my body. So uh, I just got myself this break. And it's absolutely fine to get this distraction, to try just to get your mind off of it. It's absolutely allowed. You can totally do it. But before that, it's really helpful just to acknowledge, accept, and let go of it. So cool. We are at the end of our live Q&A today. Thank you so much, Coach Brittany, and thank you everybody for posting your questions. And I'll see you some other time. Bye bye. Take care.
Okay.